Everyone to Good Medicine Way, coming to you from Albuquerque, New Mexico once again. Got a special night tonight. We'll be introducing our speaker here a little bit later, but they just arrived and we're going to give them some time to grab something to eat and then come on over here and join us. So it's a good evening. It's a little warm out here tonight. I wouldn't believe we were about 80 degrees, but I want to acknowledge the land that we're on here. We're on the land of the Chiwa, the Pueblo peoples. The Navajo are in this area as well as the Apache people here. So this land that we're on, they have been stewards of this land for many, many years, and many occupations of it have taken place now over the years. And now the big old cities here now. We live in here, and there's a land full of natives here in Albuquerque. Used to be 127 different tribes. Now I believe there's over 400 representations of tribes that live in Albuquerque city limits. So with that, I want to give this over to Eshe, who is going to do our opening prayer. And he's there in the dark here. Can barely see you today. So, all right. With that, go ahead, Eshe.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I trying to, since it's like 8 o'clock here, I'm trying to keep it low key, light, so I get my little ones to sleep easier. But I do have some candles lit here, like created like a whole ceremonial space here, and it's in the four directions. I can show it to you all real quick. This is kind of the little setup I got, and there's a candle for each direction, four colors. So something I try to do in my Maya tradition. But I just wanted to share a prayer that I've shared once before, but I didn't really share the history. It's an English translation of a Maya prayer that the Mayan priests speak to the sacred fire, to that fire which represents Creator. And they do it to those four directions. So we're going to, also starts in the east, so we're going to do that as well. And it was originally translated in Spanish from probably the original Quiche or Cachiquel Maya language, but I translated it to English so everyone on this call can understand, for those who don't speak Spanish. So we'll go ahead and start in the east and we'll make our way around. Great Creator, you who formed us, heart of the sky, heart of the earth, we give thanks for having created us, mighty one of the thunders, mighty one of the rains. From the setting of the sun, we search for peace in the entire world, that there may be freedom, tranquility, health for all of your children that live in the east where the sun rises. And then we're going to go to the south. We pray towards the south, where the heart of the ocean purifies all corruption, sickness, pestilence. Give us strength that all of our voices arrive to your heart, to your hands, and to your feet. We bow ourselves before you with our offerings, calling upon the day and the night. And then towards the north, or towards the west, sorry. I have to reorganize these. We ask you also, to the setting of the sun towards the west, that all suffering, all pain, all bitterness ceases as the day ends. May the light illuminate the thoughts, the life of all that cry, of those who suffer, of those who are oppressed, of those who don't have ears. And now to the north. We pray lastly towards the north, from the four cardinal points of this world, trusting that the heart of the wind will take up to your ears the voices and cries of your children. O great Creator, heart of the sky, heart of our earth, our mother and our father, give us life, much life, and a useful existence, that all nations encounter peace around the world. Let it be so.
Oh, thank you, Eshe, for that prayer. We're going to jump to the Lord's Prayer from the First Nations version. Nope, we're not. We're going to do our opening song here. I always throw that in there just to show you that I'm not perfect.
All right, so we're gonna do the song that Danny Zacharias wrote for us.
All right.
Wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya hey, wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya hey, wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya hey, wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya ho, wake ya hey ya hey, wake ya
song was given to us by Danny Zachariah. He's a professor over at Acadia University over in Nova Scotia. Wrote that song for us, and we had a special rendition of it where a group of us at a symposium introduced it for the very first time, and I was flabbergasted. I was surprised that he gifted that to us. So he named it after our ministry here. So with that, now we go into First Nations version of the Lord's Prayer. And most of you know the reason that we're doing that is because so many of us know the Lord's Prayer from the King James Version. We can recite it, without ever reading the words ever. And so now we're trying to learn the First Nations version of the Lord's Prayer. And it's really coming to us, and many of you know the hand signing of it. That will do.
All right.
All right, here it comes. Brian's probably the best one here with the signing, and then I follow him, so if you follow him.
I don't know if I'm the best. I just
He's-
play it off the most confidently.
Yeah, and you're watching somebody else who's doing a pretty good job of it too, so.
All right. So Creator Sets Free. Really, we should go back and watch when Liam
There you go.
McCoo showed us in the videos,
I think so.
and make sure we're getting it all back right.
There you go.
Yeah. But anyway, Creator Sets Free shows us how to pray. Oh, great Spirit, our Father from above, we honor your name as sacred and holy. Bring your good road to us, where the beauty of your ways in the spirit world above is reflected in the earth below. Provide for us day by day the elk, the buffalo, the salmon, the corn, the squash, and the wild rice, all the things we need for each day. Release us from the things we have done wrong. In the same way, we release others who have done wrong to us. Guide us away from the things that tempt us to stray from your good road, and set us free from the evil one and his worthless ways. Aho, may it be so.
I think the best part we know with that, aho, may it be so. We all got that one down pretty good there now. All right, we go into our smoke signals time here. Laura is here. She's going to be doing a short little, so you say short? She got a PowerPoint here. So she's going to be sharing some good stuff with us. But in another week or so here on November 7, 8, 9, and 10, we're going to be hosting the InterVarsity's Would Jesus Eat Fried Bread conference here in this facility. And the reason that we're hosting it here in this facility, because they had planned everything to take place at SIPI campus. And they met with people, everything started rolling, and next thing you know, the food prep there, the culinary arts, that person got moved into administration. The building where we're going to have the concert has roof leaking, and then revamping of the auditorium. So all of that fell apart, and so I guess it just meant that everybody was supposed to come here. So I offered our facility as much as we could accommodate them, because it's going to be roughly 150 some people. Most all of them are going to be college students, and a great time. I've been to many of their events before. Brian has also been to an event there in Reno, Oklahoma, El Reno, Oklahoma. Yeah, so a good time together. Also happening during this time is Jonathan Miracle with Broken Walls is going to be coming down, and we're going to take a short tour. We call it the Southwest Tour, the Jonathan Miracle Southwest Tour. He's going to be coming down with Bill Pagrin and Josh, his bass player, and we're going to take them on Friday and Saturday to 2 locations out on the reservation, to the BIC Mission, and then again to the Journey Church in Gallup. We're going to be 2 separate concerts there. And then on Sunday, we're going to have a concert here at 8 o'clock in the evening on Sunday here. And we are working on a flyer for that. There'll be a posting for I don't know if we'll be able to do some live streaming on that, but maybe something like that, so that you out there might be able to enjoy this as well. So that's happening. It's going to be a good time. So pray about it, that everything falls into place, because everything has just been scattered, and we're trying to make it all happen. So it must be, sometimes I think when things like that fall apart, it's like something really good is going to happen. And, Satan's just trying to make things mess it up for us. And then the best we can do is just pray it through and make it happen. Let's see. Yeah, with that, anyone else? Laura, you got something? You got it on to share?
Yeah.
First, before I show you the PowerPoint, I'm just wanting to let you know that we are entering week 5 out of our 8-week program called Circle of Healing, Gently Unwrapping Trauma Through Community Education. And it's going very well. I'm very pleased at the 3 additional co-facilitators who are helping us now, who were participants from the first program in the spring, and they're doing just a wonderful job as facilitators and learning strategies and techniques of how to lead a educational group. Our behavior health specialist is also amazing, who is helping us kind of add that extra support and nurturing that we need with such a topic like that. So we have week 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then we will be done by November 19th. Next announcement or time to share is I have a PowerPoint of pictures, because I'd rather show pictures than just talking. So this is an event that we're now calling Activity, TEA, at the end of the word, because we drink tea and have snacks and do an activity. So we had one on Friday, and here's some pictures. Well, let's see.
Let me see. Why isn't it? There we go.
First of all, why we do what we do through Good Medicine Way. Our mission is, together we strive to create authentic, trust-centered relationships that cultivates a circle of believers in Creator Sets Free through ministry among our Native American families, friends, and relatives. This is just information about when we meet. It is a Native American ministry that embraces our indigenous lifeways to honor Creator Sets Free, who is Jesus Christ. We meet on Monday evenings. We should put Mountain Standard Time, because that's where we are in Albuquerque. We try to start with a good potluck at 5:30. And of course, Casey is the pastor. Now this event for Friday was how to sew a magic tote bag. And there is magic in this particular bag, especially when you look at the top border and the handles. So we had individuals from the community attend. Here's one family where the father brought 3 of his daughters, and he also participated. So they're learning how to measure on fabric with my little instruction cheat sheet. And the father decided to make a bag too.
Good for him.
And yeah, good for him. I'm happy. And then this is 2 of the girls learning how to sew on a sewing machine for the very first time. And we have one of the seamstresses here in the audience. She's the person sitting in the picture. She's on your left, Melissa. Her mother came to help and watch and give her support, right? Okay. And I love this picture. Melissa is showing like progress in her bag, and I love the beaming smile, because you you can't buy that. You can't buy pride, happiness, accomplishment in something that maybe you haven't done before. So yay, Melissa. Now these are pictures of finished products. Now I should also say we had some fabric donated. One, we had fabric from Hawaii, and on Jerry's bag, the top border, that came from Deb Hummonston. Thank you, Deb. She donated fabric from the Congo. Okay.
No, sorry. There you go.
Yay! We had other bags made, and Nikki, she's already a seamstress, so she popped out 2 bags within the night. One is for her mom, and one is for her grandma. Yay! She finished her bag. I'm so happy.
First time, I can tell you.
So towards the end, I had 2 questions for them. What was a challenge for you? It was everything from the machine jammed up until we changed out the machine to another one. I learned how to measure fabric for the first time. I hadn't done a bag like this before, and it was really good for them to express their challenge. And then the second question is, what did you like most? We got answers from, I have a finished bag. I enjoy meeting others tonight. And I had fun. That was a main, like a majority of the comment. And then the last comment, or this particular individual, she must have said this like 4 times after she finished her bag. She kept saying, I love my bag. And then she'd hold it up again, I love my bag. And she also brought some patches, and so I taught her how to sew patches on her bag. So I just want to show and tell. This was the bag that kind of started things out. And, oh, here, can they see?
Right here.
Okay,
No,
here's the
here.
Oh, you
bag.
can see you both.
Yeah.
And this is one bag with fabric from Hawaii. And Melissa brought her bag.
Hi.
And then here's another bag that was made, and I want to give this to Edith. I just love you so much. There. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
All right. I think Upedadaka had something to say.
All right.
Maybe not. Or maybe she just wanted to. Oh, yeah, she is. Take it away, Upedadaka.
Hey, all right. Hey. Well, first of all, thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Thank you, Randy and Edith Woodley, for coming to share with us tonight. I just wanted to say that little bit, but I also wanted to talk a little bit about the Would Jesus Eat Fry Bread Conference. It is actually November 8th through the 11th. So we're very excited to be coming to the United Methodist Church there in the Mesa View, and yeah, I really hope that Creator does make a way and help guide our young ones, to be able to experience the Would Jesus Eat Fry Bread. It's definitely a reconnection type of feel whenever you're there. You get to reconnect not only with Creator and Creator Sets Free, but you also get to connect with your own indigeneity, and you get to express it there in the best way that you know. So I just wanted to say um, that they are still looking for some blankets. So if anyone is a sewer, if you could make a beautiful blanket to give to a student, to keep them warm in Albuquerque, because sometimes when you're there, you don't dress warm enough. And also, yeah, I just want to thank Uncle Casey and all of our wonderful team here at Good Medicine Way for stepping up and for answering a call that nobody really knew that we needed that call. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who donated and raised scholarship money too as well. I think I announced that a few weeks ago, but thank you for your help. Whatever you could give is going to change a young Native American, Indigenous American Indian person, even someone like me. So thank you for that. But yeah, so again, the Would Jesus Eat Fry Bread Conference is November 8th through the 11th. So if you want to sign up, it is the wjef.org. And yeah, so it's going to be very exciting. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody during that Veterans Day weekend. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and hand this back over to you guys. Thank you for allowing me this moment. Aho, doyak, kilami api.
Oh, thank you. Just for people's, she's coming from El Reno, Oklahoma. And Eshe, who did our opening prayer, he's coming in from South Carolina. So, and the others are around here from all across the country joining in on us. And many of our, we have a few on our Zoom now, but the most views that we get all happen next week. And a lot of people come on because not everybody can make it on this time, especially those that are on the East Coast. So with that, we want to turn it over to our giveaway time, and this is when time that we can give to the ministry of our resources that we have, and it doesn't have to be just in monetary. We had this drum that was gifted to us here just recently that somebody gave, and I've been using it right along here too. So she's here, I thank you for that. And I've made a couple of new rattles that I added to our basket there for people to share. But we get all kinds of different donations, not just monetary. We've gotten sage that was given to us for ceremony here too. So if you have something like that you'd like to give, that's appreciated. We've had blankets given to us as well. I think this one that's on this table right here was given to us so that we could use and share. Especially this will be the table where our speaker will be sharing. One thing about the giveaway time, we do it on a blanket on the center of the floor in front of us here, and pass an offering plate. We do similar to what we do in a lot of different Native American ceremonies, is with a blanket on the floor in our giveaway time there. And also, I'll let Brian introduce the rest here. Is many different ways that we have electronically that we have incorporated.
Yeah, so just like we have a blanket here, we're going to be putting a digital blanket up on the screen, and that has a QR code that will take you to a PayPal interface where you can give that way. You don't have to be part of PayPal, but that just who we use to take digital donations. And the links for that are also on the top of our Facebook page, so you can get to them from there as well. And so without further ado, if I can figure out where my cursor is.
And Brian will be giving us a giveaway song called Harmony Way.
Yeah. So we've done this song in a few different ways. So this is going to be more kind of a big group style. So I'll sing like the first line, and that'll cue you what to sing next. The people in the room here have lyrics, but for you online, as you're looking at our blanket and dialing up that QR code, you should be able to catch on. It's pretty simple and straightforward.
Hey Yahweh, hey Yahweh, Yahweh, hey.
right, thank you, everyone. One last one for our- Now we're going to hear from heaven. And I don't say that in a joking way. That's our reader's name, Heaven. Her middle name is Heavenly. Heavenly. So she's going to be reading our scripture from, part of it will be from another version and then the First Nations version because of the New Testament. So we'll be reading Amos 9, verse 7, and then Luke 4, 25 through 30. So Heaven?
So the version that I'm reading Amos 9:7 from is New Living Translation, and it reads, "Are you Israelites more important to me than the Ethiopians?" asked the Lord. "I brought Israel out of Egypt, but I also brought the Philistines out of Crete, and I led the Armenians out of Kir." And then I'm reading Luke chapter 4, 25 through 30 from the First Nations version. "I speak from my heart," he said to them. "There were many widows in the land of wrestles with Creator Israel during the days of the prophet, Great Spirit is Creator Elijah. It was a time of great hunger, and food was hard to find. It had not rained for more than 3 winters. But Great Spirit is Creator Elijah was not sent to any of these widows. Instead, he was sent to Refining Fire Woman, a widow in the territory of hunting grounds, an outside nation. And there were many with the skin disease in the day of the prophet Creator Saves Us, Elisha. But none were healed and cleansed except for Looks Handsome, an outsider from Bright Sun, the head soldier of the enemy's army. The people in the gathering house were insulted and furious at his words. Together they herded him out of the village hillside to throw him off the cliff, but he slipped through the crowd and went on his way." Thank you for letting me share the word.
Yeah. Thank you, Heaven. And she's coming from Central Illinois, sharing our scripture. I'm going to turn it over to Brian here. We'll do a centering time, a stillness time that we do, and then I will introduce our speaker, and they can make their way up to here. And speaker tonight, caught them driving through, and I had them pull over, and they're going to share with us tonight. They're on their way to an event that's going to happen in Santa Fe this weekend here, and just honored to introduce them. Randy and Edith have been friends for many, many years. When we first moved here to Albuquerque, Laura and I, and all our little brood that we had at the time, we heard this guy from Carson City and his family were moving across Cruncher, and they're going to be going to the east side of the country here for ministry. And a bunch of us here in town kind of got together and kind of helped them on their way. And I kind of think the Beverly Hillbillies, when I see them, they were loaded down to the hilt. Everything, I mean, things were sticking out of the window and hanging off the trailer. And all it really needed was a chair for Granny to sit on, and it would have been just ideal. But they came through town, and from that time on, we grew closer and closer in ministry. Our kids all grew up together in different events, especially going to the Wachoni Family Camp in the early years. That was a great time. And then now our kids are all off and doing their own things, and those are precious years that we had together there. So Randy is, I'll let him introduce a little bit more, but he's written many books. He encouraged me in the beginning. I told him that I had an idea about writing, and he said to me, and he says, "You're going to get it done. It's going to happen. Just move forward on it." And so I did, and I was able to get a couple of my books out, and felt really relieved that I got that kind of support from someone that can write books at a whim. Seems like. So I got 2 of his books up here that I like him to sign, and on their way in this evening, they gifted me a book, the one that we're going to be talking about tonight. So precious friends that we've had for many years. I love you guys and look forward for you sharing. We're going to want you with your talk, whatever you speak on here, we always go into a time of Q&R afterwards. So we'll take a little break with a stillness time for people to reflect on what you just said, and then we'll have a Q&R. And the way it goes, they'll put the little hand up in the corner here, and we'll go through and ask their questions, and also inside here in the sanctuary as well. And one thing about our speakers is that we try to have a different speaker every week. And with the many people that I've got to know, and Brian knows, and others, we're able to get a different speaker. And we've used many of our own folks in-house too as our speakers too. So with that, that's one thing that I've always tried in a ministry, because I always grew up with the same pastor, my uncle, for 32 years. He was my only speaker for 32 years. And there's so many other voices out there. And one thing that helped me to go into ministry is he opened the pulpit up for me to speak one time. And I was scared to death, but I did it. And then I was able to move on more and more and be more comfortable. And now here we are. And I leave it up to other people to speak now. So with that, I want to turn it over to Randy and Edith here. And I'll lay this book there so I don't have you guys sign it.
Oh, we signed it
We
already.
signed it
Oh,
already.
But
right.
we might
It's been
forget
signed.
what we said, but I didn't bring my glasses, so it doesn't matter.
Oh,
I don't either.
but you probably wrote it in Dr. calligraphy.
So, yeah, thank you. Nice to see you and Laura and the rest of the folks here. We're grateful for the invitation and the food and for feeding us. Thank you.
Yes.
We weren't sure if we were going to have time to have dinner tonight, so somebody made some good tacos. I don't know. Who
Yeah,
did
those
that.
tacos were great.
Yeah, was that Brian?
You take, yep.
Well, I'll take credit for it, but I didn't make them.
But you
Well, they were
figured
good.
out where to get them, right?
Yeah.
They were good.
Yeah. So some people may not know who I am and who Edith is. We'll introduce ourselves real quick, but I'm a legal descendant of the United Katua Band of Cherokee Indians in Oklahoma. I have been involved in serving our Native people for over 35 years now in lots of different ways, from homeless to young mothers and food closets and baby needs closets and youth culture camps and powwows, and yeah, so we've kind of done it all in Indian country, yeah. So, and now we're in Yamhill, Oregon, and near Portland. We have a farm called a teaching farm and a school. It's Eloheh Indigenous Center for Earth Justice and Eloheh Farm and Seeds. and then Edith and I teach, and then there's always two others that come. Jim Sakura, who's a Hawaiian pastor, and Lenore Three Stars, Lakota friend. Both of them are on our board. And so the four of us do these schools. We do about 6 or 7 schools a year. And people leave different, right? They leave changed.
Definitely.
So that's kind of what we're up to now. You want to introduce yourself?
I'm Edith Woodley. I am Eastern Shoshone. I grew up on the Wind River Indian Reservation in Wyoming. My father is Eastern Shoshone. My mother is Choctaw from southeast Oklahoma. And yeah, we're really happy to be here. And haven't seen these guys in a while. And it's really great to see you guys. And I every now and then old memories come up on my phone. I went, oh man, those were so much fun. They were mostly about family camp and stuff like that. It was like, oh, those were such fun days. So, so it's good to be here. And yeah, we have 4 kids and 6 grandkids. And it's, yeah, we have our farm, and we do, like Randy said, we do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And so,
And one of those memories I should always remember to thank Casey is when I was given my a headdress, and ceremonial things took place. It's an Ojibwe headdress. And I grew up in the land of the Ojibwe, so I owe the Anishinaabe people a debt for having the privilege of growing up in that area. But yeah, we need part of the ceremony is a combat veteran has to take the person around, and Casey did that for me, so I appreciate that still. Thank you. Every time I see that picture, I'm thankful. So I guess a couple things about that scripture first, maybe before we start talking about the book. So that scripture in Amos hit me one day, and it was such good news that Creator doesn't have any favorites. The Creator has been making covenant with people since the beginning of time, all peoples. That even those bad Philistines and those bad Arameans, and God loves the Ethiopians as much as he does the Israelites, you know, and he loves the Philistines as much, and he loves the Potawatomi as much, and he loves the Cherokee, and he loves the Shoshone and the Navajo, and has always had a presence. And that was really good news to me, and that God is what I consider to be the most vulnerable being who exists. That's what love is being vulnerable, and that being human, as we were made to be human. And then, you know, when you see the New Testament and how Jesus kind of comes in there in Luke 4, and like they think, you know, like they've got God in a box, right? But Jesus comes in and says, you know, hey, let me remind you about, you know, back in the day, there was a Syrophoenician widow, and then there was this other guy. He was an oppressor of Israel. He was a Syrian centurion, and he says God visited them when he didn't visit other people in Israel. In other words, he's making the point. Creator has no favorites. None of us. And I think we fool ourselves sometimes when we start thinking that God is at work inside the church more than God is at work outside the church. But God is at work everywhere, all the time, bringing people to God's self. And so and the reason I gave those scriptures, Brian said, have you got a word that we can put tonight? And I knew what he meant, but I just said the word was Jesus. That's the word, the one word. So, but because we wrote this book, not just for Christians, it's not addressed to Christians, it's addressed to anyone. And what it does is it shows our harmony way, what we generically call the harmony way. We call Eloheh in Cherokee, Hojon. There's so many names among all the peoples that are similar, and they have similar values. And so people have been asking us for years and years to write our story. And so we didn't think that, we didn't want to do that, right? Just like, oh, this is about us, right? But then our publisher said, well, what about the values you talk about? Could you talk about how you guys try and live those out? And that's when we said, oh, that might be helpful, And so we decided intentionally not to write it to the church. I've written a lot of books to the church. The church wants a book from me. There's lots to choose from. This book is written for anybody who's spiritually minded and wants to understand how Creator has been working among our people for so long. And so I'll just, the beginning is like, when we started out, they wanted us to turn it into this 10 keys to happiness, and we said, no, that's not what this is about. And so the introduction is all about the difference between happiness and well-being, or what we call the harmony way. And happiness is about, me, what I can get. And we have a whole society full of people who are trying to make themselves happy. But the thing is you can't really be happy unless you consider the whole community of creation, unless you consider the earth, unless you consider the birds, unless you consider our relatives, the animals in the water, and everything else that's a part of our system, and the people in the community. We are made to be together in community. And so I always say there's nothing singular in the whole universe, from the subatomic all the way up to the multiverse. Everything is meant to be together with something else. This unity and diversity principle. And so, this idea of well-being has everything to do with looking at the whole community of creation, both our personal lives and our structural lives, how we vote, the safety nets in place, and all those things. And we look at how Israel did that and how Jesus understood that is a really important thing. But yeah, that's kind of like just to introduce people to the book. It's not about our happiness; it's about all of our happiness, and then our happiness is often a byproduct of that well-being for everybody. But we came to be servants, not to serve ourselves.
On top of that, this happiness and well-being, a couple of days ago, my grandson, our oldest grandson, Sage, we were sitting at the table together at, I don't know, we were eating a late lunch together, and he turns to me and he goes, "Hey, Lacey, happiness doesn't bring you, money doesn't bring you happiness, does it?" And I go, "No." He says, "But family, all our friends, relatives, and even the animals, their happiness, right? They make you happy." I says, "Yes, they make me happy. That's what happiness is. We're all together." And he goes, "Okay." And he finished eating his lunch. That's all he wanted to know in his little mind, his 10-year-old mind. He wanted to understand happiness was not money. And so for a 10-year-old, that was important.
Yeah, he had come to the week before. He came to our we had a book launch at Powell's City of Books in Portland, and he and his parents both came and were there, and I think he thought about a lot of that, So
It takes him a bit to think about things. He thinks a lot, and then he asks questions. So, yeah, anyway.
So the book's really about our two stories. There's a couple of introductory chapters of kind of setting the context, and then Edith tells her story before me.
Yes,
and then I tell my story before her, and then our stories intersect, and then we tell our stories together, and then finally we begin to talk about these 10 values, and like our efforts to try and live the harmony way, our with our indigenous principles, our indigenous values. Yeah.
And the thing about the 10 different values is that in it wasn't something that we try to live out. Okay, we're not gonna. Okay, we got to make sure that we're generous and all the things that go under generosity and all these different things that we have listed. It's like, okay, no, it's something that we automatically do every day in our own personal lives. And then as we were talking about it, we realized, oh, wait, both of us grew up in this type of life. We both grew up in these ways that we didn't know what they, we didn't have a word for them, but it was just something that was natural to us as kids. And as we started thinking about them, and it's like, oh, wait, yeah, hey, about this. Oh, yeah, about this. Oh, yeah. And so we started comparing these, and it's like, okay. And so it's not something that you think about, oh, I'm going to do this. It was something that we both were raised in. Yes, I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. Even in that dysfunction, there still was a lot of these values that we talk about. And so yeah, that's
Yeah, I think like a lot of a lot of people in Indian country live these things out, or at least know these are the things we should be living out.
right.
And when you see, like, when a funeral comes or ceremonial time comes, you see even the people who are like way off the track, right? They come back and often have respect. They practice these values. Because that's the community. So I've had people critique the book and say, well, these are values that white people have also. And I'm like, well, if that was really going on, we wouldn't have had to write this book. But this book is to say that as indigenous people, at our best, in our values, and from an indigenous worldview, have a way to basically live the future that's much more promising than the Western worldview and the Western values. And the Western values, like, I think it's that book there, Indigenous Theology and the Western worldview. I have a list of, like, comparing those and everything, but it's like the Western values will not take us into a happy future.
Right.
It's not, nobody's going to be happy in the future if we continue to practice all the values of individualism and selfishness and competitiveness and all the rest, and in spite of and not having community and generosity and sharing and all those kinds of things. And so we are actually trying to convert non-native people and re-convert, or we say re-indigenize, right, our own people, to realize that these are the values that got our people through thousands of years from time immemorial. They weren't born with them, right? They learned them over time. They learned them from the land and the relationship with Creator, and realized that this is how we're supposed to live. Now, ironically, they're the same values that Jesus taught, right? So I think we're in good shape. But that's kind of it. And we tell our stories, and I guess those 10 values, maybe we should say kind of what they are. But do you bring your glasses?
Yeah, they're in my purse.
Yeah. Can we borrow someone's glasses?
That's right. If you buy the book,
Yeah, that's it.
if you order the book or whatever,
I could probably
you'll know 'em.
name them but I'd forget some. But so of course, harmony, respect, generosity, and hospitality,
laughter. No, not
humor,
laughter, but humor.
Expanding your family, your community.
Yeah.
And what's that?
History.
Yeah.
I used it on the splash page.
Oh, there we go. You want to read them off,
okay,
Brian?
there
That'd
you
be good.
So, humor, history, accountability, respect, harmony, authenticity,
There you go.
equality, friendship, generosity, and balance.
Yeah,
There you
and
go.
that's in one word. So, of course, part of this also comes from my PhD, which actually Casey and Laura participated in this interview. But the PhD, which I interviewed 12 different leaders and 45 people from other tribes, 45 different tribes across just about every region of the U.S. and Canada. And some of this comes from that dissertation as well. And they're much deeper than that, but I didn't write this for PhD work. If you want the depth of that, you can look up my PhD. But this is sort of like summarized down so that anybody can just kind of look at that and go, oh, yeah, maybe we need more of that in our society, you know.
You'll get to know us a little bit more personal too.
Yeah, it's a kind of like tell-all book. You know, Edith tells it all on me. I don't tell it all on her, though.
Because he knows better.
Yeah, no, it's just our stories. You know, it's who we are, it's where we've been, and yeah, we're hoping that that this book changes people's lives. We've heard from some people already that are really have been touched, and you know, when I write a book, that's when I write. I write to change, right? To bring about a good change in people and the world. And I feel like this is the best thing I've ever written, and I know it's the best thing Edith's ever written because it's the only thing she's ever
Yeah,
written.
it's the only thing I've ever written. And it's the only thing I'll ever write. So,
I kind of forced her into it.
not really. Your editor did.
Yeah.
She kept calling me.
Yeah. So Edith was like, I don't write books. I don't write, you know, and I'm like, you write, she's like, you write the books. I don't write books. I'm like, you got a story. Just tell your story.
Well, this editor wanted me to write about this this cohort that Lenore and two other Native women do. It's called Badass Indigenous Grandmas, and we've been doing it since pandemic started. And she found out about it, and she wanted to know our stories, the four of our stories. And when I went to them, they all like, no, thank you. And so I was like, okay. But then she kept bugging me. And so I was like, whatever. And then I told Randy, and he said, well, you know, we could do something. Then it went on. Then finally this came out. So, yeah.
I don't know. We can like talk to people about it. They can ask us
Yeah.
anything. So
We could do our little reflection time. Let people let it sink in, and then we can open up the floor for questions and comments.
Brother, before you do that, could I do a plug right here myself? And I would just like to say, you guys, that I hadn't got through, but just where I've gotten to where you both shared your stories. But I, first of all, I just have to honor you. I'm so grateful. Followed you from afar, not like not honor you that way, but I'm grateful. 2002 Many Nations voice says when I first embraced and came into this world. So I followed y'all from afar. When I was in Georgia, y'all were in Alabama, and then anyways, and now I'm over the mountain from you. Through all these years, I'm Donna from Mama D from over the mountain in Sherwood. Anyway, but I wanted to say that this book, starting and from reading your others too, as soon as you jump into this book, it's like diving into some warm water and oil, and especially for ones of us that are just now maybe coming to realize who we are, and it's like everybody's here at the right time, and this makes it real easy for us to come in and identify with you, so that then we want to, well, yeah, that's me. I can, yeah. And, and so I think I just wanted to tell you, I really appreciate it. It's good.
well, we appreciate your encouragement, and especially on Facebook. I appreciate your little notes all the time. Thank you.
Brian will moderate this for us.
All right. Yeah, I guess just to kind of get things going. I lost my cursor again. But one thing that I thought it was interesting when you said that, some people had said like, oh, well, white people have those values too. And thinking about that in terms of the scripture from Amos, and that was obviously in the context of, the Israelites being like, hey, God, we're your special people, or, whatever kind of thing. And that made me think of like how Israel didn't really understand what it meant to be God's chosen people because they had lost sight of being in harmony and had switched over to a different way of thinking. And I think, in the kind of thinking that's descended from kind of European colonialism, which is, descended from Roman Empire, that when we think about words, when we think about concepts, we think about them in terms of our rights and our privileges and what do we get out of it, where to me it seems the more indigenous and biblical creator focused way, harmony way of thinking about it is not my rights and privileges, but what are my obligations and responsibilities. And I think that really informs the difference. How people, like, you could say, well, yeah, white people talk about harmony and generosity, but they don't understand it in the same way the indigenous concepts do. I wonder if you can just kind of speak into that a little bit.
You can try. Okay. Well, I think about the Genesis stories, right? In the first chapters of the book, and that, and of course that word dominion, that was that. If you're a king and you're getting the Bible translated, like, dominion's a good thing, right? But that word often doesn't mean dominion. It actually means like responsibility, stewardship. The word I like to substitute is co-sustaining. And then that's the context, because right after that comes this and so tend the soil, take care of the earth, right? So that's our job as human beings. And I look at, and it's the whole community in that whole garden story, right? I look at the way everything was set up from the beginning, beautiful, just the sun and the moon and the waters and the birds and just wonderful poetic story. And then it gets broken, right? And I have a different take on how it gets broken than most people, but the thing that the first command is, you human beings, take care of the earth, take care of this stuff, this whole thing I created. That's your job. And so I look at it like tend the whole community of creation. So that's what we're supposed to do, right? So if it's, maybe you tend the earth and take care of it. Maybe you look after the rivers and the waters and the fish. Maybe you do missing and murdered indigenous women. Maybe you find water for people who don't have good water supply. Whatever it is you're doing, that's your role. That's your obligation, or it's really privilege, right? To be tenders of the whole community creation, to be taking care of that. And so if we're all doing that, we're doing our job as human beings. That's what we were created to be, is to be human. And to be human is to tend the whole community of creation. And so that's different than doing something that just pleases me. I got to think of everybody, and every animal, every bird, the soil, the water, everything. And we have to begin to think more like that, or we're not going to make it. And my take on original sin, of course, is like they misuse the land. That's the original sin. They ate from the tree they weren't supposed to. They were supposed to do other things. They weren't supposed to do that. And so as the story goes, they misused their primary role, which is to take care of the land the way Creator says take care of it.
It's interesting too that when you bring that up, because like even Satan's deception was for them to think about this tree not as something that they were in relationship with, but as a commodity. God's withholding this commodity.
That's
from
good.
you,
Yeah.
you know, and that so that flips the whole worldview, the whole paradigm of how you think about it.
Yeah, that's good. You really laid it out there. That's good. Yeah, we can't think in terms of anything, people, our relationships, the earth, as extractive, right? But that's the American mentality, extraction. And there's a parallel between how we think of the earth and everything that's within the earth and on the earth, and how we think of people. So in the Western worldview, it's about what can I get out of it? What pleasure can I gain from these things, molybdenum, coal, whatever, and women, and people of color, and whatever else, all the sort of others, immigrants. What is it that I can get out of that? That's the opposite of how we're supposed to think, but that's how our society thinks. And so when we treat the earth badly, we also end up treating people badly. And so that's why we have to do it all together. Yeah.
Come on. Okay.
Is similar to the conversation I had with Sean Dean last night. And it's about I said it's hard to describe what Hojo is. I said you could say balance, harmony, health, wellness, and goodness, joy. I said, but those are constraining words to Hojo. And it's hard to describe it using words. So how we can demonstrate it is through our life ways. And then we talked further a little bit more about that. And I said, and those life ways, I said in Navajo is enough life. Everything that we do, everything that we've done, we were talking about family. In the family is the life way. And I said, and Sean Dean, you and your siblings are in a place where you have the access of 3 generations. There's yourself, your siblings, there, and we were talking about my side of the family, mother's side, because we were talking about matrilineal society in Navajo. I said, so then there's you and your sisters, there's me, and there's grandma. And so there's 3 generations of enough from our own life experience that is going to be, that's bigger than big. But how do you write it? And I said, sometimes you can't write it because the words are the limitations. How do you try to explain a concept or the life way of what we know? And I was talking also about the indigenous way of knowing. How do you write and describe indigenous way of knowing? I said, that's the perplexing task. But you live it. And because she's throwing out some ideas, and that was my response to her was, how to talk about Ojo, how to talk about enough life. And I said, for Navajos, you have to go back to the beginning. Go back to the beginning of, I said, what they say is the fundamental laws, the customary law, common law, and that is not written law, but it's how you interact with each other and the 4 ways of interaction. I said, that is where Ojon, that's where Ina starts. And you can, I said, and you can Google it, but living it is the deeper of deep. So I was saying it's the deepness and the depth, what is it? Depth and breadth. Depth and breadth. And I said, Shondine, you and your siblings have it matrilineal with me and Grandma. So it's a to be continued conversation, because I just attended the Native American course of study for the Methodist Church. Casey went through, we were in Alaska last week, and so I signed up to take a congregational care class. One of our assignments was writing an autobiography. She said 3 to 5 pages. It kind of spilled over, but my story doesn't start with me. It starts with my mom's parents and my father's parents. So it started there. Then it went on to my mom, my father, and then me. And so I think about with what you're saying is it's not the independence, it's not, let me tell you about me. Oh, and I felt uncomfortable with that assignment. Ooh, I gotta talk about myself? I don't know. But I felt more comfortable saying I will describe who I am. To get to know me is to know my grandparents and the stories, my parents, and then me. So it's a to be continued, but I think it just kind of fits in line with what we were talking about last night, just as recent as last night.
Yeah, and we need to have keep having those conversations with our younger people. Can't say young anymore for some of ours. But
They're getting up there.
But so I've been, when I write my books, I try to do them in a different way now. This one, Indigenous Theology, it's pretty narrative through the whole thing. But I began by saying, as soon as you start trying to define, what is Native, you've already slipped out of that, right? But somehow, if we're going to change people, we have to sort of write, right? So the way that we did this one is we didn't also want to try and these are the Native values and describe all the, no, we wanted to tell our stories about how these values fit in. And so that's what we did in this. It's a very story-driven book. And, telling our stories is really important because, we all, as Native people, I think we all have some kind of trauma, intergenerational trauma, those kinds of things. And I think when we all begin to tell our stories, there's healing that comes that way. So we're hoping that happens with the book.
But also it gets, like you're saying, it gets you off of, it's not like it's all about me. And that's what the thought of the book was, this ain't about us. Yes, we're writing our stories, but we both go in and we talk about who we were before we were, and it's like we talked about our ancestors, because really our ancestors are the ones that did these awesome things, and they did these different things, and then as it goes down the line, boom, here I am. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. So it's like we both started out our stories with telling our ancestors their stories first. And then we finally got to our stories, and then we told our stories. And then we told our story together. And, I guess that's one of the things that we also wanted our kids to know, our children to know. And then down the line, as our grandkids get older, them to know that this is who they come from, the beauty of who they are as Native people, and just as people in general. And so, yeah, and then these were the values that they probably held on to live and to get through their own lives. They had to hold on to these different types of values in different ways. It wasn't written down, it was all, it just was. And then it was just kind of passed on down. And so, yeah.
It's the was, but it's the is. It is what it is, and will always be is.
I think we had a saying like that in the 60s. It is what it is.
That's before my time.
Yeah.
I know. Mine too. Tell me your age, babe.
All right, Eshe, go ahead.
South Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's so good to hear you all's voice and all in one space together, all my heroes there. So it's good to see you all. And I know I can't see Aunt Laura and everybody else in the audience, but it's good to see you all too. Yeah, I was just thinking about like the concept of, the anthropocentric or the human-centered mindset that is so prevalent in the West. And I've thought about it a lot because I think about how people approach the creator with that mindset, and how they approach the world with that mindset. We don't usually think about, or I wasn't taught to think about like how we are dependent on creation. I was taught, oh, you're only dependent on God. And while that's true, like his creator is the one who gives life and sustains all life, you're also dependent on the other creatures and other life forms, that creator's made. And that isn't emphasized enough. It's almost like the anthropocentric view, with the human-centered view, has been applied to creator too, as if the creator was human and we're just the extensions of the ultimate human, which is true, and creator become human or creator sets free. That is true, but that model human is also the renewal of all creation, not just humans. So I guess what I'm getting at with that is just the West is very uncomfortable with giving thanks to creation, and I think about how indigenous cosmologies, I think about, a lot of the Mayan nations, and this extends all the way into the north and further south as well, but like, and around the world, of course, but just this concept of thanking the four directions, thanking the different nations of creation for your existence, to creator ultimately. But and that's why the Westerners, when they came here, they were so uncomfortable with that, and they said, "Oh, you're polytheists. You're worshiping creation," and they didn't understand our ways. And a lot of degrees, they still don't. A lot of people, unfortunately, especially a lot of Christians. And so that leads to my second comment, and I'd love to hear your all's thoughts about this. I was having a comment. I just think about the relevance of your books and Uncle Casey's books, and of others, but especially you all's, like, just I was commenting on someone's post on Facebook earlier today, and it was that post about like trying to remember how it went. It was basically like how I'll just read off of it. I pulled it up. It was that one that goes Christians, we will spread the gospel by spending a week in the third world and maybe go on a safari. And God's like, I'm going to bring that developing world to your community. By the way, they already know and follow me. Just welcome and care for their needs. And Christians are like, no, not that way. I'm sure you all have seen that meme floating around. But
someone commented on it. It was a European descent woman, and she was like, you can do both or something like that. And I just told her, I commented on it, and I said, I think the point that the meme is trying to get across is the hierarchical thinking about the mentality. Like, we're going to go somewhere and we're going to show these people who God is because they don't know them. That's the underlying premise. We got to bring God to them, you know. And she was like, I understood. I say we can and should do both, but I find what you said to be demeaning and insulting. You ought not to judge other people's motives or mentality, those who help in country or not. And I basically said, like, you know, first of all, there was a lot of bias, right? Because she's coming from this perspective that is a very privileged and a very, I don't know how to put it, limited perspective. And so I was like, listen, myself, I have endured, Christianity and the worst parts of it, and my ancestors have, and I'm speaking from experience. So like what you're saying, it's limited. And so I pointed them to like your all's materials, because especially those who call themselves followers of Jesus need to be presented with things that challenge not only their worldview, but their Christianity and their doctrine, their religion, which is, they're intricately connected. But what is your thought about like that anthropocentric part and like also how the West needs it? Could elaborate a little bit.
Well, you hit on a lot of stuff. Mission,
Yeah.
hierarchy, anthropocentrism. So I guess I'll just take a stab. If you want to talk about mission, I wrote a book called Mission and the Cultural Other.
Yeah.
If you're interested in seeing my thoughts on that. But and really in this book and in also this indigenous theology in the Western worldview, I talk about where all this stuff comes from my view at least. From Platonic dualism from the Greeks, and then it travels with empire, right? The Greek Empire and the Roman Empire. And that Platonic dualism just means that you see the ethereal world, the sort of non-touchable stuff as superior to the material world. But that's not a holistic reality. That's a false reality. A holistic reality understands we are both mind, spirit, bodies, all of these things. But that has taught the church to be suspicious of our own bodies and to be suspicious of the earth and to be suspicious of loving trees, all of those kinds of things. And the anthropocentrism comes as soon as you split reality like that and you create one aspect of reality higher than the next, then everything has to be in hierarchy. So people have to be over the earth. Men have to be over women. White people have to be over people of color, etc., etc., etc. Because that's the thinking that's been ingrained with these empires for 3,000 years. And Jesus did a good job of coming against that stuff, right? I mean, his whole thing, if you just start in the book of Luke, you have the high priest in the highest holy place there is. And then what's the first thing that happens in this Jewish religion? God shuts his mouth and tells the woman to speak, right? And it's like, well, that we don't do that in Judaism. No, God's saying, I'm not doing Judaism. I'm doing something beyond that. And then the next thing that happens, Elizabeth tells a story, and then she tells it to Mary, and Mary understands how this whole thing relates. It's like, Jubilee and all the Sabbaths and all these social structural things, safety nets, and all these things that were happening. Thank you. They're like, she gets it, and she's like, because the poor are going to go away happy and filled, and the rich are going to wait. Well, what happens with Jubilee? Everything comes back to balance, after 49 years. And debts are canceled, slaves are set free, on and on and on. Property goes back to its original owners. How about that, Money? And So all of this, and Jesus says, I am this. I'm the great equalizer. He wasn't just talking spiritually. That's Platonic dualism. He was talking about everything. It's supposed to be just and supposed to be according to what they would call shalom, what I call shalom Sabbath Jubilee construct. And so, and that's a little bit about Eloheh and all the other constructs around the world with indigenous people. And, I've talked to people from all over the world who have similar harmony way constructs, right? And similar values, if not the same. And so this is the good news. If you follow the story, I love Luke because he's the only Gentile writing in Scripture, right? And he sees it as the insider-outsider view. And he's writing this stuff, and he's putting it all together. And then he shows who's next. Well, John the Baptist gets born. Doesn't follow in the footsteps of his high priest daddy. No, he goes out and he lives out in the wilderness, which is for us a good thing, right? And what does he do? He has these values. He understands the bottom line, so much so that Jesus says he's the greatest prophet to ever live. And what's his bottom line? If you have 2 coats, give one to somebody who needs it. If somebody needs to be fed, feed them. Stop cheating on your taxes. Stop oppressing people. The basics that all people, the original instructions, know how to live by, right? And then Jesus goes out into the woods, and he's fascinated. He has these temptations. He goes on a vision quest, basically, and he has these temptations, and he comes back, and all he wants to talk about the rest of the Gospels is like birds and trees and fields and soil and seeds and rocks and and it's like he comes back in spirit and power, and then he says, I know what my vision is, I know what my purpose is. And there it is in Luke 4, this whole day of Jubilee, this whole safety nets and everything that went with it. And this is the way we're supposed to do it. And guess what, Israel? It's not just for you, it's for everybody, right? So the way that we look at the gospel, I think we've been trained as dualists, as Platonic dualists, with the worldview. It's not that we can go, the scriptures are wrong. No, the way that we look at them is messed up because the West, unfortunately, adopted this unrealistic worldview, and they can't see half the picture that's there. But indigenous people can see because Jesus was indigenous. That was a lot, and I don't even know if I answered your question, but that's what got me thinking about it.
Yeah.
You did, and only a native way could do.
Could I say, brother, that it occurred to me as the more I've read, and especially that's something that is always grieving me, the duality of every day, because every situation is an opportunity for this person who did not have the same experience and that person that did not have the same experience. There's going to be duality. To me, that represents separation and the fall from grace, because that's the most grieving thing to me. So, and in marrying those two, that's where, if we don't, seeking that relationship with Creator, because only through Creator, who unites the Oshun, I can't remember, say it right, but the good, Eloheh, only through him can these things manifest. And they are manifesting. They're coming around. They're going to come around. They're coming around. But my point about that is remembering, the thing that has really been put on my heart is remember to pray. We were talking about in your conversation, like essay, it's just, a normal to feel when you're different and don't have it, then some people just immediately feel offended or agree. They feel guilty, and they don't know what to do with it. So my experience that's helping me is to remember in every situation like that to pray under my breath, whatever in my spirit and my mind, and just say, Father, give me the grace. You speak. Put a cold to my lips that ain't you. And because we don't always have to be emphatically and finish that point. And I know that you're great about that. But just in general, for anybody who's curious, so this is just me sharing about what I feel like Brother Randy and Edith have just made wonderful examples of their whole life. And so, what's helping me learn to come to that Eloheh place is remember to see Creator to help me step out first. Because if we all just see each other through Creator, which He'll turn on the light, if we're trying to be in relationship with Him, but that is key. And then that brings us right around to where we can all be that Gadugi community.
Thank you.
Okay, Helen, I think you're next.
South Bend, Indiana.
Yeah, South Bend. I wanted to respond to Eshe. I was curious about this woman, why she chose to respond in this way, but I think it goes back to those basic beliefs. And one thing I've noticed, I know with what you're calling the dualism, people who believe in that, they seem to have a thought that the only way to show their loyalty and faithfulness to God is to subdue everything else, that everything else has to be put down, so that no one could ever accuse them of idolatry or putting something else before God. Whereas I think what you're saying is to see that we have to live in harmony with all of these. It doesn't mean, it certainly doesn't, it shouldn't give anyone a license to mistreat others, to degrade, to do those. And yet, I think your post was so threatening to her, not that you threatened her, just that it was so foreign to her that the only thing she could think of to do was to get defensive and huffy and say, well, you don't have the right to tell other people if they thought, you're a good one to talk. I mean, you don't even have to respond to the post if you don't like it. Or you could actually engage in a dialogue and say, tell me more about this. I'm trying to get this point of view. But I think I've seen that. And I remember there was a Jewish author who put it really well, saying that before you can destroy something, you have to see it as worthless. And that's part of that degradation, that before you can destroy whatever it is, a tree or throw it, or you have to see it in some way as garbage. Otherwise, you're going to try to save it and take care of it. And I think that's what she was doing with your words, and to some extent you. I'm sorry that happened, but I was all the more impressed at how you kept reaching out to her and giving her another chance. And I think that's really living out the faith when people are persecuting you in the name, and you're still being a good brother to her. So, but I also think that's kind of what I expect of a lot of social media, that you're going to meet some fine people and you're going to find some people who just are looking for a fight. But basically, I thought the way you handled it was brilliant, and I'm glad I know you, and I'm gonna look up that post and try to see if I can respond to it. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, thank you for your good words. Yeah, for clarity, it was a friend of mine that posted the post. I had seen it floating around Facebook for a while, but a friend of mine posted it and I was replying to it just because I saw that comment on there initially from her, and I was like, let me just clarify in case she's missing the point of the post. And then, but I think the underlying point that her and even the person who posted the post, ironically, is this idea that we as Western Christians have to bring Jesus to other nations, or else their blood is going to be on our shoulders, kind of thing, which is very guilt-ridden.
Yeah.
And so it's like, just
the answers for you.
Yeah, we got the
how is
answers.
Creator already working there? How is Creator already working with that people? How has Creator worked with that people? And in this context, I think that friend was talking about going on a mission trip to Dominican Republic, and Dominican Republic has, that was where Columbus first landed, Dominican Republic and Haiti, what is now those two modern nation states. So there's a messy history there, a lot of different nations of peoples kind of, you know, co-live there and you know, intermarried and so forth. But how is Creator, especially working with the indigenous peoples that were already there, and how is Creator working in the culture that is kind of adapted out of that history, right? So I don't know. It's just the denominational things kind of make it more difficult too, because sometimes if it's approached in a way that, you know, we got to bring our unique brand to this and not just the good news of Jesus. And
Yeah, this is a day where we have to show a lot of grace, right, when we're discussing things with people. Part of the place we're at, I think we're at a boiling point now of the West. To me, the Western worldview is a failed worldview, and we're seeing the results of that now. One of the results of that is this binary thinking. It's either got to be this or it's got to be that, right? And I have to tell you what the answer is now. Like, it doesn't take into account that we have to actually learn from each other, and that takes time, and that I'm in a certain place in my life, and I might be in another place later when I can hear that. All these kinds of things. But, you know, our political system is a perfect example of that, you know. Whoever thought that democracy was 51% against 49% is a fool, because look where it's brought us. But, you know, our way, the way that I understand, has always been consensus. We listen to each other. We take our time. We move slower, but we move together, right? And that doesn't mean it always happens that way. Sometimes there's, you know, eruptions, and you know, you know, my people are kind of famous for that. You know, they're kind of like, you know, if you don't like something, just go start another village somewhere else, you know. But I guess that's what the denominations have done too. But yeah, all of that is about, you know, what we believe. Well, you know what? Back to what Laura said. What we believe really isn't that important. We have this misplaced idea that correct beliefs create correct actions. That's not proven true in history. In fact, you know, like there's a whole lot of Holocaust and genocides and wars and everything that, you know, people who said, I have the correct belief, you know. But no, it's like living this out. That cuts through all the beliefs, right? And even in mission, and you brought up mission, it's like, you know, I don't need to go and say, hey, here's everything I know. No, I need to go see where Creator's at work already. Jesus is at work in every culture in the world right now, in every person in the world. So my job is to go find out, what is he doing? And then I need to convert to whatever that is before I ever ask anybody to think about the truth that I have. And so, you know, that's, I always say, Creator expects true conversion with every encounter. It's like, I need to listen to you. And you don't have to listen to me, but, you know, if you want to, I'll share. So.
All right, Karen, go ahead.
Get myself here. Thank you for coming tonight. First I'll say bonjour. And my mother was Beathuk in Inuit from Newfoundland. And my dad was, his mother was Micmac from Nova Scotia and Wampanoag, Cherokee and Narragansett. And I'm from the territory where the Ojibwe are and Potawatomi, and a displaced Cherokee tribe. So I wanted to just share a little bit along with what you were saying, a little bit of history. My grandfather from the Narragansett was Great Chief Canonicus, and Roger William became good friends with him, and he began to teach our language, write down our language for us. But in his writings, Roger Williams' writings, he expressed the perfect combination of him being white, yet understanding the reality of who we were. And I don't know if I've come across any other people who have had that much close contact with our relatives to that it was so beautiful in how he expressed it. But he said that our people were the closest he felt anywhere to the Garden of Eden. He said the only things they did not understand is that Creator's name was Jesus, and he made it a way so we can be fully cleansed of our sins. It's recorded. He said, I don't want them to ever leave what they have because their culture is so beautiful and so close to the idyllic life. So if other whites had understood that, like Roger Williams understood it, I don't think we would have the struggles we do today, because he truly saw it. He saw the depth of the spirituality. He records it, that he said they are so spiritual that he learned spiritual concepts that he did not know from what his background was. And he walked away, he said, with a better eyes of spirituality, because he had been with the Northeast natives. He led both my grandpa Canonicus and my grandpa Massoet, who everybody would know from the contact with the Pilgrims. Both of them to understand that Jesus was creator, and then he took away our sins. But other than that, he fully embraced and encouraged their spiritual nativeness and their spiritual life in their nativeness. And I don't know if we can help that understanding. That's where the struggle comes in. How can they understand the concept that, like we were dialoguing in the chat, we thank each other for things that we give to each other. What's wrong with thanking the tree for giving us syrup? You know, it's not weird. It's just that they don't conceptually understand that creation was here before us, and creation has a right to be thanked too. What's wrong with that? So I just really think that how you were talking about the wholeness of man and the creation and the equality of it, that's really the struggle, because if they can understand that, I think they can understand our perspective. Do you have any insights?
Yep. I had an elder one time tell me, I was complaining about, I won't say which one, but one of my daughters, that she never listened to me. And he looked back and he said, you know, he said, I can't ever remember telling somebody what they should do when they didn't want to hear it, when they took my advice. There's a lesson there, you know. We have to know, like the gambler, when to hold up and when to fold up, and when to just listen and try and, you know, nobody wants to hear what you're saying, you just don't say it, you know.
And along those lines, somebody watching on the Facebook live stream was saying, like, wow, like, you know, really love all the things you're saying, and especially the Jubilee concepts that you brought up. But in that same line, like, her question was like, but how do you get people to change their worldview? And I guess, you know, that gets into also, like, and you've had a lot of experience also with working with the church, working outside the church, whatever, like, you know, and to just what you said, how do you have that discernment to know, like, okay, this conversation seems like it could go in a productive way, or when you say like, okay, this is just going to be chaos and it's best avoided. Like, you have any insights along knowing when to hold them and knowing when to play them?
So, this is I think all the old elders, right? This is their, I think what their fallback line. You'll know. You'll know. Yeah, I think, experience and wisdom, trying to, decide that, is this really worth it? Is this person ready? They want to know, the question is about changing worldviews. So we used to think that worldviews were unchangeable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that was so foolish. That again, that was anthropocentrism and everything else, the male-dominated thinking, and because it's the idea like, oh, I'm going to this pure culture to another culture, and now I can't reach that worldview, right? We're all a part of many worldviews right now, all of us. There's the worldview of the West. There's an indigenous world. There's different indigenous worldviews in different views of the West. There's a sort of a male worldview, right, that we have. There's a female worldview, which is better. I'm trying to convert to that more often, and then we have all these cultures around us, and world goes deeper than culture, right? So this is your basic anthropology. Casey knows all this, but you begin to think in the terms of those people. And anybody who's been married, like who's listened to each other, has already experienced this, right? And so, what I'm trying to do, what we're trying to do is, and what we're trying to do at Eloheh, and I see that our sneaky friend Lenore is on the call here.
I know, that's her.
Yeah, look at that, Lenore. Is that Lenore 3 stars?
I think it is.
Hey, Lenore. Come on out.
Show yourself, sister.
She was my student at Nate's.
Yeah. So,
she's probably sitting there cracking up. I know you.
All right. So, the idea is that we can change our worldview. I talk about the sort of standardized, if you will, Western worldview and a sort of standardized Native worldview. There's really no such thing, but it's probably like, if you look at median, as they say, like where more people are and where more people are, that's kind of what I use, right? And I think the thing that's causing people to change, and we're seeing literally hundreds and hundreds of people change. They're beginning to see through different eyes, through more indigenous eyes, through more a different worldview. And I'm not just talking about young people. I'm talking about older people too, like us. People are our age, my age, not her age. But I'm the older person. But because they see that this worldview that's taken us this far has failed. It's taken us to destruction. It's going to destroy the earth. Well, it's not going to destroy the earth. I think the earth's going to be all right in the long run. I'm not sure we'll be here to enjoy it. But, it's going to destroy a lot of people. A lot of people are going to have hard lives. It's destroying the animals, the different species, the fish, even the bugs in the ground, the plankton and phytoplankton out there in the ocean. Everything is in trouble right now because of this Western worldview. And so I think everybody's seeing we have to find something else. And my argument is in the Americas, the indigenous worldview, since time immemorial, has learned how to work these things out. And so in the Americas, that's probably the worldview you need to convert to. So, and I see it happening. So.
All right, Heaven, go ahead.
I appreciate this concept of wellness because it reminds me of how wellness is wholeness, And you were talking on another podcast about this book, and you were talking about your health issues and how it felt like you had to go to so many different doctors to be treated for so many different things. Like you had a cardiologist and you were grateful to have a cardiologist, but you were glad that your cardiologist understood that he wasn't just treating your heart, you know? And so I appreciate how you talk about wellness being more interconnected, because it's true about healing. Like healing has a lot to do with everyone else. And like if you understand that like everyone has medicine, then you really grieve the loss of biodiversity, because it's like all the dis-ease comes from the loss of biodiversity. And then like it's because we don't honor each other or hold each other in the same reverence, because there's the illusion that like some people are better, but it's really not true, because we all crave presence, you know? But our mind tricks us into thinking that like if we can quantify something, we can preserve its presence. But really the presence is just the moment, you know? Does that make sense? And so like I really appreciate your book, because when I think about your book overall, I don't think about it as like a self-help book or like a summary of the 7 sacred teachings. I think about it as like you really introduce it as like this is a discipline of being present with the earth and like holding each other and the medicine of each other and the earth in reverence. So thank you for like coming together to make your book, because it's beautiful, and like your lives are a testimony to like not just the book, but like the beauty of walking in that way. So thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
That was a lot of wisdom from a younger person. I'm calling you younger. I don't know how old you are, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was really
She's
good.
pretty deep.
Huh?
She's pretty deep.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good comments.
All right. Well, I think we'll go out on that wisdom.
Okay.
From heaven.
And yeah, and so happy to announce too that when we wrap up the book that we're on, which is Native by Caitlin Curtis in our book study, we're going to be going into the Woodleys book here. So Journey to Eloheh. So we're excited about that. So yeah, so this is a good primer to get your thoughts going. So dive into the book now, and then when we get going, we'll be ready to have a really vibrant conversation and change those paradigms.
Right.
Or I should say, get back to the true paradigm.
Yes, I want to just close also with, got time to purchase your book, and we'll start our next book study. We're going to finish up Caitlin Curtis's Native within about another week, and then we'll take a break and everybody get a chance to get this book, and then we'll start in on this. And then I want to say appreciate it, because I am working on a book that is going to tell my story to my kids and people that have followed me over the years. It's like the things that I've done, I've been through, life changes, the heartaches, the growing that I had to do theologically to get here, and then to see that you're giving something to for your legacy to be known.
It's important, I think, for these people that come after us. They, it's kind of like they wait till they get a lot older before they really start asking the serious questions sometimes,
Yeah.
So
Yep.
maybe we'll be there, maybe we won't, but at least we leave something.
Well, I thought also is that I thought getting old would have taken a lot longer, but it's
Yeah.
it's crept up on me
Coming up.
too fast, and
Yeah.
Got to get this out before I turn 75, and so yeah. But I appreciate you as an example for me, encouraged me to get that one out too.
Get it out.
So with that, we're going to close, and we got a final song. And thank everybody for your responses, and for Randy and Edith for being here. So gracious to come. I know you got a full week of things going on, and then driving again. So afterwards, so appreciate that. And then we'll have our send off.
Oh yeah, and I think Epidaka would like to do the send off.
Okay, Fedidaka. She's from, yeah.
Yeah. But we'll do our closing round dance. If you still got the stamina left, you can feel free to dance. But certainly sing and play along in your own spaces. And let's see, it should be this one, right? Yep, okay. Okay, here we go.
Our closing send off will be with Petadaka as she comes on here from El Reno, Oklahoma.
Hey, El Reno and Oklahoma City are basically neighbors. Hey, but thank you. You're just showing more and more that I am from the Cheyenne people down here. Hey, so thank you for that, Uncle. Hey. Hopefully y'all can hear me. I'm coming to you, as Uncle has said, from windy Oklahoma. It is very windy here. So, if you all will join me in the send-off blessing, we can, wrap this up in a good way. Heavenly Father, I'd like to just take a moment to thank you for this day. Thank you for gathering everyone together for yet another Monday here at Good Medicine Way. I want to thank you for the teachings and the sharing tonight. May we walk in a more harmonious way. Watch over us as we go into this week and help us to listen closely to your voice. May we also encourage one another more and help to reach out to one another a little more this week. May you watch over the Woodleys as they continue on their journey on your path, as well as on the road or in the air. Help those of us that are watching this throughout the week or joining tonight to be able to watch this again and maybe learn a little bit more of what we may have missed. And I just want to thank you again for bringing all of us together, and may we have a good week and be able to come back together again next Monday. And just let these words that were shared tonight not fall on deaf ears. I ask all these things in your son Jesus' name. Amen. Yeah. Hopefully you guys heard me. It was really windy.
Yep. Yep. Every now and then we call her wind in her hair. In the wind
That's funny.
Well, next week we're going to have Sharon going to be with us. Yeah. So looking forward to that. She's here, one of our own here in person. So come on and join us then. Also, pray for us as we get ready for, would Jesus eat fry bread? Of course he would. He says, how many pieces would he eat? That's the thing. So, so thank everyone for coming on. I know we lost a few of our East Coasters there, but thank you for hanging in there with us. And thank you, Randy and Edith. And love you guys. Love you all. Have a wonderful week. And all of you who will be listening in, for all the viewers that come in all the following week. Appreciate you all. Take care now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, do you want me to sign your book? Me and my wife?
Yeah, bring them on up.
I heard you say that. I don't want to. You know, it probably brings the value down when we sign it.
I got two others here I want to.
Thank you. See you later. Bye. Safe
Take care.
travels.